What's up, guys? This is going to be my first installment of a World of Warships gameplay series I'm going to be working on. Um, right now, we're looking at my battleship, the Kawachi. It is a little disappointing the fact that the American battleships are not in the game yet. So I had to go to the Japanese line. I was actually really wanting to go to the American line. Just as I did in the World of Tanks, I played the American line all the way up through artillery. I know, Sky Cancer, I'm bad. This guy in the background you can hear talking is my buddy Kyle. It's actually on TeamSpeak. Didn't mean to record that in, and I couldn't figure out how to remove it without removing all the audio. So we get to listen to him chime in every once in a while with a completely different game that he's playing. As you see here that it starts me with HE loaded. Generally, I like to shoot armor pen at everything because from what I can tell, it just generally does more damage. I've not had the problem of overpinning yet. Still trying to learn the game. So I'm not really sure exactly where I'm supposed to be going in each and every match yet. Generally, what I try to do is get my guns and ship angled right off the start. That way, when something does pop up and I'm in range of it, I can shoot it immediately, just to get my first rounds out of the barrel as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I'm streaming tanks right now. I'm trying to use this in-game Twitch thing that I got now with Raptor and AMD. It works pretty easy.
Yeah, and he's talking about Twitch because yes, I was actually live streaming this video from my live stream, which is not very popular as of yet. I'm still working on that as well. And for those of you that have not had a chance to play the game or you don't know much about it, you've got your battleships, which is generally the most heavily armed and the most heavily armored of the tanks. Generally, the slowest reload, the slowest and lowest maneuverability. Then you have your cruisers, which is about middle of the road for both. It's got decent armament, low armor, low hit points. But some of the cruisers can actually get light torpedoes. You have two selections of ammunition. You have high explosive and armor piercing for all the ships. You have your destroyers, which is really high maneuverability and speed. Lots and lots of torpedoes, light main batteries, and they're really quick. They're really hard to hit with a battleship, which is the reason I don't generally try to shoot at them. You have to lead so much, and they have the ability to turn so quick they can dodge most of your shots. So one thing is I've noticed in a battleship, you don't want to generally waste a shot at a destroyer because you're most likely not going to hit them if they're paying attention to your rounds coming in. Then you have the aircraft carriers, which from what I've seen, good aircraft carriers are heavy on the combat planes because they can help out with the enemy's planes, the bombers and the torpedo bombers and dive bomber ships. They're also pretty good for taking out scout planes. So you keep less of your team spotted. Your concealment stays up a little better that way. And then there are the aircraft carrier players that they run just heavy torpedo bombers and dive bombers. Yeah, they're effective at taking out ships sometimes, depending on if they know how and where and when to drop their torpedoes at. But from what I've noticed in the long run, your best bet is to run heavy on combat planes just to help out, support the team, and get rid of the enemy bombers and torpedo bombers and stuff. And that right there in front of me was actually a smoke screen dropped by a destroyer. It raises their concealment considerably. It's another reason they're quite a pain to target as a battleship, because if you shoot at them, you've got a 30-second reload that leaves you vulnerable to shoot at anything else. You don't have the threat of to damage. If you shoot and miss, they can get right up on you and drop their torpedoes into your side, and there's not really much you can do about it. However, if you don't shoot and you wait for them to push up next to you, you can generally one-shot them with a good salvo right into their stern. Every once in a while I get a good hit on a cruiser right into the Citadel and get a one-shot kill on those as well. I've only ever done that with armor-piercing rounds. I've never been able to do that with high explosive. High explosive, as far as I'm concerned, is generally used to set them on fire or break a module, so they have to use their repair kit, and then try to set them on fire again right after that. But like I said, generally I shoot armor piercing at everything because simply it does more damage for me. And you'll notice here I'm slowing down and kicking it into reverse. This is simply so I can get more shots at this guy before I get to the next rock. Don't recommend doing this. And he's leading a shot on me, and he missed because I slowed down. Which he did the same thing to me. He slowed down, so I missed most of my shots because I was leading it too much. I know it looks like I'm tunnel visioning here on this one ship, but I'm actually paying attention to the minimap. Minimap is key here, from what I can tell. You really got to pay attention to it because that's how you're going to figure out if you've got dive bombers and torpedo bombers closing in on you. This ship here that I'm playing is the Kawachi. It's the Tier 3 Japanese battleship. It's a really good ship. I'll be posting up a video later of the Miyogi, which is actually the one right after this one. I actually prefer the Miyogi to the Kawachi. It's a little slower, but it's more heavily armed, and the turrets actually seem to rotate a little bit slower, but they seem to be a little bit more accurate as well. And see, I've been set on fire. Every ship comes with a damage control team for fires and any modules that have been knocked out. It's got about a minute and a half cooldown on it. A battleship has the one here that's on your letter T. It's hull repair. Only the battleships get this. Because like I showed you earlier, the destroyers, they have a smoke screen. Some of the different ships actually get scout planes, and your T will actually switch to the scout plane. If it's a battleship, you'll have your scout plane on T, and then you'll have your hull repair on Y, if you're using default controls. This map in particular is not one of my favorites because I seem to play it more than the rest. It seems to come up the most. Granted, this is in closed beta still, so that may be one of the reasons. I'm not exactly sure how many maps are actually in the game right now. But from what I've seen so far, a lot of the maps seem to be pretty symmetrical on each side. And if they're not symmetrical, they're at least really closely balanced. So you have a really decent amount of cover on either side. And as you just saw there, torpedoes do really good damage to ships. To get that much damage done with a regular main battery shot, you have to have that shot really, really well placed, like right dead into the Citadel, which is going to be your bridge area. I'm not sure why they call it the Citadel here, but that's what they call it. See, I've just taken a heavy shot. I should be using my my hull repair here soon, because I seem to be in a little bit of trouble. Not doing so well as of yet. I've gotten a few hits, but nothing critical yet. See, I've just popped it. That's how much it's. If you look at the green on the left corner there on top of the ship model, you'll actually see how much it's healing me up. And it heals over a 30-second period, and then when it's done, it has a minute and a half cooldown. And it seems as of right now the ammunition is actually unlimited. I'm not sure if that's something that they're gonna be leaving in at launch, or if that's something that they're still working on. I'm not sure how that's gonna work. Just, that's simply information I don't have and have not been able to find. So if anybody knows anything about that, just leave it in the comments. Let me know. So right there was a giant hit because I hit him in the citadel, the bridge, and it did like 12,000 damage. It's all about the RNG when it comes to hitting it dead on like that. It's nice when it happens. More torpedoes for him. And apparently the guy on my team that shot torpedoes at him didn't really aim them too well because they all missed. Because with an aircraft carrier, I've seen some of the guys will take their torpedo bombers and lay them pretty much right up next to the ship, and there's no way to avoid them. You can't move fast enough to dodge them, and you can't stop fast enough to not go into them. So you're gonna run into them. That's one of the more efficient ways to take out a ship, is to literally try to drop the torpedoes right on top of them. So you can generally tell when you get a penetration with a armor penetration shell, whereas a non-penetration will do about 200 to 300 damage. An actual penetration will do somewhere in the thousands. I believe my current ship can do up to 4,800 with a full penetration. Like I said, I'm firing armor piercing pretty much this entire video, just for the fact that I prefer it. You can shoot either one. Generally, what I've heard is recommended. Armor piercing at battleships, high explosive at everything else. So like I said, it's just personal preference of my own to use armor piercing on everything. It's one of those things you got to test it out, and everyone's got their own preference there. Armor piercing works best in my opinion. The only thing I've not actually tried shooting with high explosive is an aircraft carrier. Being that I play battleships mostly, it's hard for me to even get close to them before the match is over. Simply because I'm so slow. My team seems to be doing relatively well as myself. I mean, I'm not doing amazing, but I'm doing well. And I guess the biggest thing for performances wise is basically I'm not dead yet, so I did okay. I've seen a lot of people play battleships or cruisers, and they just roll right out into the middle of the map by themselves and eat it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you want to see more, just hit the subscribe button. Thanks.